I think I had this feeling that I was cured, and the no buy year was just the icing on the cake. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jillian and I make videos on minimal and intentional living. I have been meaning to make this video about the end of my no buy year for the past 2 months, but something just keeps getting in my way. And I think that part of it is that I have a tendency to want to move on from things when they're finished. And then there's another part of me that doesn't think I handled the ending of my no buy year very well. And this feels more like a cautionary video than a yay I did it video. But I want to have something to look back on that marks the end of this chapter in my life, and I want to be able to reflect on the challenges that I had, but also celebrate the accomplishment of actually finishing it. If you are thinking about doing a no buy year in 2025, I want you to have the information that you need in order to be successful during the challenge, but also once the challenge ends as well, because it doesn't just end on that last day. There's still work to be done. I will link a playlist up in this corner that basically outlines the first 6 months of my no buy year. And to summarize, the first 6 weeks of the no buy year were probably the most difficult during that period as I adjusted my life to not shopping. Once those 6 weeks were over, I felt like the no buy year just became a part of my life and it wasn't as difficult anymore. And things went pretty smoothly for the first half of the year, and I think around the 7.5 month mark I started to struggle. Part of the reason for that is that it started to warm up here and I started to pack away my cold weather capsule, which contains my favorite clothing items, and all that I was left with was my year-round items. And where I live, it gets really hot in the summer. Layering is impossible. It feels like there's no outfit creativity, but that's also my own shortcoming when it comes to getting dressed in the summer. And then to compound that, my kids were home, so while my life had been pretty predictable up until this point, and I had a routine and I didn't miss shopping, the change to warmer weather and the fact that my kids were off for summer threw me for a bit of a loop, and I started to want to shop again. And I resisted the urge as much as possible, and I was successful, but that was probably my first challenge. And then my second challenge came when we went on vacation. We actually went to Italy for the first time, and I packed mostly this little capsule that I had done a video on. I'll link it up here. I took most of those items, and it wasn't the clothing items themselves that bothered me. It was more of the shoes that I had to take. I knew we would be doing a lot of walking, so I needed to take my most comfortable footwear, which happens to be my old beat up Birkenstock sandals and a pair of chunky sneakers. However, as I packed them for vacation, I realized how beat up and worn out they both were. And I almost gave in and bought something then, but I decided not to. I decided to get through the vacation, and if I did that, then I would be fine. And we went on vacation. I alternated between those 2 pairs of shoes and everything was fine. And I did allow myself to buy a couple of souvenirs while we were on vacation. My daughter and I did a perfume making course in Florence, and I got to take home the bottle of perfume that I created as a souvenir. And then I also bought a pair of earrings in Florence, but unfortunately one of them has since broken. Once we got home from our vacation, a general feeling of sadness and low motivation plagued me for a little while, and this was compounded when our oldest dog, Kaya, passed away at the end of July. She was my shadow, and I had a really hard time with the fact that she wasn't here anymore. Normally I would have distracted myself with shopping to deal with the grief, but I didn't have that this time around. And I guess in a way I'm thankful. I couldn't really numb myself to the pain with shiny new objects or scrolling on online shops. And so I think that I ended up processing the loss of her in a way that was a little more healthy than I had done in the past. Once I got through maybe the worst of that period, I had hit around the 10-month mark, and I really considered giving up the challenge at that point. I felt exhausted by it. I felt like I had made it 10 months, therefore I had learned everything that I needed to learn about myself and my shopping behaviors, and that it would be fine if I gave up the challenge. And then I ended up writing a Substack newsletter that I will link in the description, basically outlining how I was feeling, and that helped me feel a little bit better. I didn't know that I was going to continue on with the challenge for sure, but I just took it day by day, and eventually I got to the 11-month mark, and I knew that if I had already gone 11 months, then I could definitely do one more month. And also I had that feeling of excitement of being done, like I could see the finish line. The whole challenge reminded me of running a race. At the very start of the race, or this challenge, I was super excited and things were going pretty well. It was hard, but I had that excitement and I felt motivated. And then, for the first maybe half of a race or this challenge, I felt pretty good. But then I guess I got to around the halfway point, which similarly to a race, we're gonna go with like a half marathon in this situation, things started to feel a little bit harder. And then when I got to like months 7, 8, 9, just like miles 7, 8, 9, things felt really difficult. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to continue. And I kept putting one foot in front of the other. And then I got to the last couple of months and things started to feel exciting again. I felt like, okay, maybe I can do this. And eventually I got to the last month, I could see the finish line, and when I crossed it, it was just like finishing a race. But then things quickly went downhill. For approximately 6 weeks after the end of the No Buy Challenge, mid-October to the beginning of December, I went through a bit of a rebound period, and I'm not proud of it, but it happened. In that amount of time, I bought 30 thrifted items and 2 new items for a total of 32 items in under 2 months. And I think the problem was that I didn't actually have a plan. Only rule that I had for myself at the end of the No Buy year is that if I was going to buy something, then I had to love it. But here's where the problem comes in. I found way too many things that I loved. And now every time I walk in my closet, I have this weight on my shoulders. And I think that it is stopping me from really enjoying those things that I bought. It's easy to look back now and to realize that I really should have had a plan in place for how I was going to reintroduce shopping. I think that I was so resistant to putting any rules on myself because I feel like I have been really restrictive with myself over the last decade. And I just wanted to get to this point where I could be free to buy whatever I wanted. And I just want to be able to buy things and not feel guilty about it. And I really thought that the No Buy year had turned me into this person who can just walk into a thrift store and buy one item and leave, or leave empty-handed. I had gone into so many shops over the No Buy year and I was fine. I didn't want to buy anything. I think I had this feeling that I was cured. The funny thing is, I even wrote in a newsletter how I didn't think that the No Buy year had cured me of my shopping addiction. I thought that the previous 10 years of work that I had done had cured me, and the No Buy year was just the icing on the cake. It was a thing to say that I'm not a compulsive shopper. But if I've learned anything about myself since the No Buy year ended, is that I am somebody who needs rules around shopping. I need to put a limit on myself. When I have them, I don't feel guilty about shopping. I make much more considered purchases. If you plan to do a No Buy year in 2025, make sure that it fits your life. Make sure that you have emotional outlets that replace shopping, and know that you're going to have a lot of struggles. You're going to want to shop, and maybe share those struggles with people, which is something that I didn't do. And it might have made it a lot easier. And then have a concise plan for the end of your no-buy year so that you don't end up making rebound purchases. So with that being said, in 2025, I have decided to do a low-buy year. If you are interested in hearing about my plan for my low-buy year in 2025, or you were thinking about doing a low-buy year and you want to join me, then stick around for next week's video where I am going to outline what my plan is and also share a PDF that I will be using to plan my purchases and keep track of everything. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel and you would like more videos on minimalism and intentional living, please do so. And that is it for me. Stay tuned for next week's video where I share my plan for my low-buy year 2025. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.